2.
And
wake up in a panic, we're in over our heads again. We know this is what we're meant to do. So we wake up, put our feet on the floor, go and conquer the day like a warrior, like warriors. Cause that's what a tribe does. We got your back so you can relax and focus on all the important stuff, like getting your business done. This is our tribe. We look out for each other. That's right, that's right. This is our tribe. We help each other grow in business and life. That's right, that's right. No need to panic anymore. We got lots of support and an army of warriors by our side. We fight the good fight when we unite. We fight the good fight when we unite. Cause that's what a tribe does. We got your back so you can relax and focus on all the important stuff, like getting your business done. This is our tribe. We look out for each other. That's right, that's right. This is our tribe. We help each other grow in.
Welcome, everybody, to the Coffee Shop Show provided by Explore ProTech. My name is Sondra Ray, and I will be your host today. And we are talking about feedback and improvement, how to get feedback, how to use it to improve your business as you grow, scale, start, all the phases of it. Peter, how are you today?
Oh, I'm absolutely brilliant. I think this is a really good topic. I was actually watching the intro that we play every single week. It basically showcases a long journey of a whole bunch of people from various places in the world, and I think it's quite apt that this is the topic that comes up because it has been a journey, and if we haven't learned from it, well, then what are we actually doing? So, um, I'm actually looking forward to this. And if I'm not mistaken, I think that our genius on the topic for this evening actually is yourself, Sondra. Normally we bring in people from the outside or people from within our space, depending on the topic, so that we can have somebody that knows exactly what they're talking about. Fortunately, we didn't have to go very far to find anyone because, Sondra, this is your topic. So I would love it if you would actually start us off with this conversation. That would be great.
My pleasure, my pleasure. So I have been in business I'm on year 5. So yes, definitely have some thoughts, SOPs, all the things on getting feedback and improvement. One, it's very important. It's very important. You don't know if you're hitting the target if you don't ask people. Even if you have clients, that doesn't mean you're hitting the target all the time. So you need to be asking people. Who should you be asking? You should be asking your current clients. You should be asking your past clients. You should be asking the general market, your niched market, your fellow entrepreneurs in your space. There's just a lot of people that you can ask to get feedback. And feedback can be about your services. Feedback can be about your procedures. Feedback can be about your social media presence, your website, your YouTube channel. Like there's so many different things you can get feedback from. And the biggest thing about feedback is, one, be open to it and that no, you're going to get the good and the bad, because that's what you're asking. You're asking for both sides. If you're asking appropriately, you should be asking what is going well, what is not going well, how do you think I should improve? Because that's called growth, and you should be growing in your business. If you're not growing in your business, growth doesn't mean scaling necessarily, just growing, as in you're moving forward, you're keeping up with what's going on in your business world. That's growing. Scaling is different. Scaling is building and making things bigger. So you should always be growing. Scaling might not be your season, so you might not be scaling, but you should be growing. So, um, so yeah, definitely be asking for feedback. Pick an area and do that first. Don't ask for feedback on everything at the same time because then you're overwhelmed with everybody's opinions and everybody's thoughts. And you're like, okay, now what do I do with all this information? It's information overload. And it can get very defeating if you're asking for a whole bunch of different areas, and a lot of it is where things that are not going well. So definitely pick an area. So if it's social media, pick social media and focus on that for a period of time. Um, if it's, your website, have a couple of people inside your circle and outside your circle. It's always important to get opinions of people that are not in your circle, in your community, because it's just a fresh perspective. And we are always too close to our business, first off. So we can't really give ourselves feedback. We know how it feels when things aren't going right, but as far as how to fix it or what is going well, I have a lot of people that do not see what's going well. And I'll be like, you're always winning. You're breathing, you got up, you still have a business. You made $5. Like there's always something to celebrate the win, but it is very important to look at the lessons. And definitely just the last part, and I'll definitely want to hear everybody else's perspective, is the easiest way I do it is surveys. I either create a survey and ask, and I keep the surveys 5 questions or less. People do not want to spend their time on a 2-page, 3-page survey. So keep it simple. Also putting questions in a Facebook group or a LinkedIn group. I'm reworking marketing. So I went to the people that have already bought the product in the past and like, okay, I'm reworking this. How does this sound? And I'm going to go to people that haven't ever bought the product and be like, okay, how does this sound to you? Is this something you'd buy? So I have both sides of it. The people that already know and have seen the value of the workshop, and then get people from the other side. So that I literally just started that Friday with the help of Peter and Nestine. We came up with some new wording and, well, all new wording. And now it's like, okay, what's going to work? And how does it resonate with everybody? So, Peter, come on in.
One thing I want to highlight, I think as a startup entrepreneur, when you start, your business is like your baby. You pamper it, you feed it, you water it, you bath it, you wash it, you spit polish it, you shine it, you do whatever you have to do to make it work. In that process, it becomes really personal. It's personal. It's like a relative. It's like it's like your spouse. You protect it. You want to be protective. Then at the same time, going through that process, if you now then go and ask somebody what's their opinion and they go, no, it's terrible. Your instant reaction is offense. Oh, I'm offended. Oh, I'm offended. The reality is that as a startup entrepreneur, there are people out there that have been in business longer than we have. There is somebody that's out there that's been in business longer than I have been in business, and is going to take a look at my business and go, no, I don't like that. That's not. I don't think that works that way. And sometimes they're right, and sometimes they're wrong. So I think it's about developing a thick skin, because if you're going to ask for an opinion or advice, develop the thick skin and take it from where it comes from. Because at the end of the day, advice that's given to you, if it's coming from somebody that's been there before, done that before, succeeded at that before, you may not want to hear it, but it may be exactly what you need to hear. So I think develop that thick skin. I've had people come to me and go, you're doing this all wrong. You're doing it all wrong. You're not doing it right. And I had to take a look at what I was doing, which parts of what I was doing did I feel that they might be correct on, and what do I feel that I want to hold on to because it's working for me. So, but develop that thick skin. Otherwise, you just end up getting offended, and then you end up digging your heels in and then just doing the same thing over and over, and it doesn't work. And then when you're so frustrated, you go back for more advice, and then you get more offended, and then it's just this terrible cycle. Develop a thick skin. It will take you far.
I love that. I love that. That is something I've had to really work on. I have a people-pleasing personality, so it is can be very difficult for me to hear that I'm doing something right, especially if I feel like I've went above and beyond whatever I'm doing. So it is definitely something as a business owner, you have to do it. And yeah, it's taken me, and I still have my moments. I had a moment last week with a client. I was just like, you really hurt my feelings. And the good thing is I said, you hurt my feelings. And I said, can I explain how I seen it? And as soon as I explained how I seen it, he was like, oh, I could see how it would be misinterpreted that way. So it's communication. It's communication. You can have a thick skin, but or if you don't have a thick skin, make sure you communicate and say, hey, I felt this way. Can we talk about it and have a discussion about it? Of course, in a professional manner. And he was grateful that I did, and I was grateful because I'm deep in my feelings. So I'll be honest, I was deep in my feelings, and he's like, "Why didn't you just come to me?" And it literally had it just happened, and he's like, "Oh, okay." He was away from the office, so he didn't know. But anyway, so yeah, definitely, if you're going to have feedback, you need to be able to um, take it with a grain of salt. But also this, sometimes your food needs salt. Sometimes your food doesn't need salt. I guess that's a good way to talk about it. So yeah, definitely, I think the source is very important. Um, and yeah, it still might not affect what you actually do, but it actually gets you thinking about new ideas and new marketing and new ways to do business. Lesetja, come on in. So, as he gets a drink, of course. Come on in.
Of course, I've got to wet my throat so that whatever I say makes sense. Coffee makes sense for me. Yes, thank you, Sondra. Peter, I agree with you. This is one of the most important topics for entrepreneurs, for business people, for everyone. It's very, very important for you to get feedback, because if you don't get feedback, there's no way you can improve. You're gonna be thinking you're doing things right, meanwhile you're going the wrong way. Um, and basically, what is feedback? You know, feedback is information that gets shared with you regarding what you're doing, regarding your product, regarding your service, regarding anything. I mean, our bodies in this heat, our bodies say to us, our bodies tell us you need something cold, you need a shade. So your body is feeding back to you to say, I need you to take action. And after taking that action, as Sondra drinks a cold water, after taking that action, you feel better, you know. So from nature, there's always feedback. And going into the business, I think we now know about this scourge of children eating food from some foreigners in South Africa, foreigners' shops and stuff like that. Some kids dying, some kids, getting sick. Now, the shop owner should now be knowing, oh, this product is not right for these people. And we should also know that product from that shop or that shop owner is not good for our kids. You know, and I don't want to go into the history or the stories of what happens behind closed doors and all that. But the thing is, there is feedback given. The food is not right, or something is not right, or there's poison in the food or something like that. So that is part of feedback. In marketing, you may want to introduce a certain product. What do? Take it out to the market. Well, research first. When it's done, take it out to the market and see what they say about you. If they love your product, then you can carry on. If they love your product, but they think the pricing is a bit high, you'll get feedback. And all the feedback that you get in all spheres of life, they help you to improve either your product, your service, your personality, your social status. There's a whole lot. So feedback is not only limited to business, it's also in your life. If I ask for advice from Peter about something I want to do, and It's not about business, it's just a personal thing. And Peter gives me advice. That is feedback. Okay. And that is not going to help me in my business, but in my personal life, be it social, be it spiritual, be it whichever way. So, feedback is very, very important in our daily lives and more especially in our businesses, in what we do, the products we sell or we give out, the services we offer, and all that. So it is vital, vital. And that's why I agree with Peter. It's one of the one, exciting topics. Secondly, most important discussions that we can have regarding an entrepreneur's business. Thank you, Sondra. And this is Lesetja Mokou from Litmok, your business development agents.
I love that. I love that. I love that. Yes, sorry to hear about children getting poisoned. That is not great in any ways. But yes, you're very right. Our bodies definitely give us feedback, and people choose to ignore or act on the feedback. So that is definitely true. And same thing about feedback in your business. You have a choice. You have a choice whether you take it and do something with it or you don't do something with it. If you're not going to be willing to do something with it, don't waste other people's time. Really, time is value. Time is money, especially as a business owner. So if I'm taking time out of my business to give you feedback on your business, I'm gonna get a little salty if you're like going, okay, I took all this feedback and I threw it in a folder somewhere and never looked at it, never read it. So yeah, have a plan to what you're going to do with the feedback. Have a procedure. I'm going to do these amount of surveys. I'm going to do data collection. I'm going to look at this and see what the trend is. If it doesn't apply, then that's fine. At least you did something with it. You didn't go, oh, I have 100 surveys sitting over here in a folder. Again, that doesn't do you any good. And I think Peter could attest to that as far as, you guys have run two groups through Mancosa, and I'm definitely know you have feedback not only from the students, but from other places. And you have to do something with that. You were just talking about interviews and all that, and that you put them somewhere after you reviewed them, of course, so that you have them for the future. Speaking of you, Peter, come on in.
Yeah, I just want to highlight something that we need to be very careful of. There's a difference between somebody that is a know-it-all and somebody that's been there and done that all before. There's a very big difference. If I was going to seek advice or feedback from somebody, I would want to make sure that the area that I'm seeking advice in is something that they have actually conquered before. They've been there, done that. They're not just a know-it-all that goes, oh, but I know about that. Unless they've experienced it, then their feedback is irrelevant to me. So if I go and I ask a random person that I don't know from a bar soap, what do you think I should do with my business? I don't think the feedback would be relevant unless they end up being some business mogul or, but if I put myself perhaps in front of Gary Vee and I said to him, hey, give me some feedback, and he hit me with some hard truths, I would have to take them very seriously because he has been there and he has done that. So, and I think there's a balance. You've got to be very careful who you're approaching. You've also got to make sure that the person that you're approaching has no skin in the game. Because the moment somebody has skin in the game in regards to your space, their advice will always be to their benefit. So you always want to ask somebody outside of your sphere with no skin in the game. It's pure advice. It's pure feedback. If I'm going to, like if I'm a space where there's shares involved and I'm going to somebody and thinking, should I do this or should I do that? And their response is going to benefit them, then their advice is going to be unbalanced and it's going to be to their benefit. So you can't just randomly go, oh, when it comes to customers, of course, you ask customers. But when it comes to business, you want to be very careful who you're asking for advice, who you're asking for feedback, and at what level are you trusting them with the feedback that they're going to give you. And then once they've given you the feedback, whether it's harsh or whether it's not, maybe they're going to stroke your ego. Maybe they're going to be like, no, you're doing great. Keep going. Maybe try this, push a little harder here. Or maybe they're going to say, oh, you're doing this wrong, and try it like this because I've been there and I've done it before, and this is how it worked for me. So I think take experience into consideration. I don't generally randomly go to random people and go, hey, give me feedback in my business. I want to know that they understand my business. I want to know that they've been in my space before, maybe even in my exact position before, maybe in a similar position, but they've been there. So place your trust in the right people. I think that's very important.
I agree, Peter. And that also brings up a good point of customer feedback versus business operations versus social media. Like, think about what kind of feedback and what part of your business you want feedback from and then who you want it from. So customers or if you're wanting marketing research, then you would possibly ask strangers because you want to know what resonates with the market. If it's your business operations, then yeah, you're probably not going to ask a random stranger to talk to you about your business operations. They don't know your business, they don't know your place. So very good point. And yes, definitely their experience. If they're a brand new business and they're telling you, how to, do your taxes or whatever, that's a little way off. So yeah, taking that in connect and is also important. Mikey, good evening, sir.
Evening, Sondra. Evening, everyone. My feedback was going to be very similar to what Peter was just talking about, in that be also vigilant on the individuals or entities or organizations that you approach for feedback. Sometimes you may even incur costs on you, but be very vigilant and wary, and you almost need to filter the individuals that you get feedback from to ensure that the feedback is valuable and actually correct or appropriate for your business or the current position you're in. A little strategy that can help as well, because you can also apply a bit of analytics to it. So, looking at, if, for example, if you're getting feedback from a variety of people, but most of them are giving us the same type of feedback or topic or theme of feedback, but then you got these few outliers that are totally random, and some of the feedback may not even be sensical. So you don't have to address their feedback and focus more on what the majority have to provide. Not to say sometimes you get that odd feedback from a random out of the blue feedback that actually could be extremely valuable that no one else thinks of. But the onus is kind of on you to use your judgment, apply judgment and logic in assessing feedback that you do get and addressing as best you can which ones you pick and choose from. Yeah. That's Mikey Guness, and I'm from Clinicon.
You're fine. I was typing in the live YouTube chat. Couldn't get my mouse back to the right spot. Yes, definitely. I see the good and the bad of doing surveys and feedback anonymously and not anonymously. So you definitely have to take that into account. If you're not asking people to put their name to it, then of course you can't address anything. But you also sometimes anonymously is the only way that certain people will answer it. So definitely make sure. And if you do ask for names and emails, just make sure that you are not using those for marketing, because they're doing a survey. They are not signing up for your marketing. So just make sure you use names and emails correctly, especially in the US, because that's a big smack on the hand. They have to sign up for marketing versus just answering a survey, unless you have a little box that says signing up for marketing. So just FYI, that came up in the live chat. So that's why I'm bringing that up. So Hendrick, good evening, sir. Okay, definitely want to hear you physical product. I always love your perspective of how it does.
Thank you, Sondra. Unfortunately, I was afraid of lowering my hand because you were going to call me after Mikey and Peter said their words. Because firstly, I think I echo the same sentiments as both gentlemen. The only time when numbers may lie is if you get feedback from people who have no idea or who have no desire to help you or your business in any way. We've got over millions of people who are on social media. They've got nothing to do with their time except criticize what other people are doing. So you can actually get destructive feedback from people like that. So it's very important that you understand where you're getting your feedback from. That's the first thing I wanted to say. And then the same people, actually, people who do not have an idea of how your business model or how your business operate, at times those may be the best people to give you an idea or an advice. Some of the best feedback I've received, I mean, from people like Mr. Levy, Declan, are from people who are in a different space than me. So those are people who, even though they are in a different space, they try to find the similarities in all their businesses, because remember, more often than not, the structure or the way we run our businesses is the same. We all want to run businesses that have values. We want to run businesses that follow certain business ethics. So they do not differ based on what you do as a business. Some of those ethics can be tested when you put them out, and then you let your clients or people out there to say, our ethics or our values are, we want to put our customers first. So if those people come back and say, yes, we do feel like your company is customer-centric, it works in your favor. However, if those very customers who are buying from you or who come into, like, they do exchanges with your company on a daily basis, feel like, no, that's not actually what we've seen when we visit your stores, or that's not what we've seen when we call or when we send emails, because we have to call you guys 5 times for you guys to assist us, and you are rude over the line, then it gives a different story. So the moment you get things like that, sometimes it's very important that you do appraisals in your teams, and then you also try to give your people coaching, because just as much as we can talk about building teams, the same way it's very important to try to retain or to keep your key players. It's very important to train your weakest links in the business, because every business is only as strong as their weakest link. Because if you bring all those clients and then they come across one root employee who doesn't care who you are, irrespective, or they start treating customers based on the value you bring to the business, then you're going to have problems. So it's very important to do those quarterly reviews. It's very important to do those appraisals in the teams. And I think in general, just try to speak with your employees from a customer's point of view. That's all I wanted to add. That's Hendrick from Teresano F Movers, your lifting and rigging specialist from Mpumalanga.
I love that. I love that, Hendrik. Yes, feedback from your team, review of your team, your investors, your subcontractors. A lot of us in service-based business, we use subcontractors. They may be or may not be client-facing. Especially the ones that are client-facing, you definitely need to be making sure you get feedback from all of them, because that's extremely important. And yeah, having a value statement and reviewing it and asking people, hey, does this sound like what my team is doing? Or to your team, does this sound like what I'm doing as a CEO? Am I honoring our value system? Am I doing that? Am I following the SOPs? Are you following the SOPs, the things we have in place? What feedback can you give is extremely, extremely important. Real quick from the live speed, somebody was asking about if you give a survey after a training, you get positive and negative ratings. Do you not look at the negative ratings? So my answer is you have to look at the negative ratings if you ask, why did they give you that rating? So I will, I like the surveys that say rate us 1 to 5, and then why did you rate us that way? A lot of people don't answer that, but if people are answering that, then yes, you could take that negative rating and go, okay, maybe there is something I need to tweak. Maybe they had an off day and it doesn't matter, but at least you have a way of looking at that negative rating that's going to help you improve. So asking why, or why did you give that on, either way. And I've given some detailed answers to those questions sometimes. When I'm frustrated, which probably is not the greatest idea, but at least I gave feedback versus going, nope, you got a 1. Bye. Like, okay, why did you give me a 1? Like, seriously, what happened? I had something the other day. It was the platform that was issued, not the help desk. It was the platform that was issued. So I said, help desk person was great. Unfortunately, because of your platform, things didn't get resolved. Help desk person was not the issue. It was the platform issue. I'm grateful to say it actually got resolved and we're all back on track now. But I gave high praise for the help desk because the help desk has only so much control. And I know that as a person that's been on customer service, that even there's only so many things they can do. And after a half hour, they're like, I have to tell you no for the time being, but I will follow up. So yeah, rating customer service based on who's in front of you versus the company also is another way that you need to make sure you differentiate, because you can have great customer service people and have a crappy platform. And that doesn't make the customer service person wrong. Just might be something you need to look at in your company. So, Lesetja, come on in.
All right, thanks, Sondra. There's a point that Peter made, and I think I just want to stress that point. It depends on who you get your feedback from. That really matters. And as you say, Sondra, sometimes people can just be rude and they give you a lower rating on your research and all that. And it's gonna pain you because that's not what you expect. And to Hendrick's point as well, there are so many people on social media that are bored. And they'll mess your mind up because they've got nothing constructive to do except to bring you down, especially if you go on that platform X. I think it was designed to just chop people down. So whatever you do, make sure that people where you find your feedback from people that care about your business or are people that are going to be honest about their feedback. And as Sondra mentioned, when you ask why, they're able to give you a constructive answer to why they gave you a lower rating. And I'll give you one or two examples personal. I used to run a butchery and I ran it for like 15 years. The other butchery owners around would tell me how wrong I was doing it. No, you cannot be working and running a butchery. No, you cannot charge this much. No, you cannot cut your meat this thick and I did it my way. But then who was giving me feedback? Not a customer, but somebody that I'm competing with. That probably saw me as a threat and wanted to bring me down. So I didn't take that seriously. The important one was coming from the client or the customer who'd say to me, can you cut this a little bit thicker? Because when we put it on a braai, on a barbecue, Sondra, for your sake, it doesn't burn or it holds the juices in and all that. So for me, the important feedback was from the customer and not the competitor. They will never give you positive and constructive feedback. And on Friday, I was lucky to attend a gala dinner, lovely food. And there's a lady, a South African woman that owns, I think, I'm not sure how many stores, but she employs over 2,500 people. And two people, one from Cape Town and one from Joburg, gave the same feedback to her to say, whenever we go into your store, there are smiles. People want to help you. The help that we get from your people, we never get from anywhere. Even if your products may be a bit pricier than others, but will always come through to you because of the smiles we get, because of the friendliness we get, because of the service that we get. Now, that is positive feedback to this lady that she can take forward. And to Hendrick's point as well, feedback should also go down to your employees. And this lady said it's because she doesn't own a house. She's got, wherever her store is, she's got an apartment above the store. That's where she puts up whenever she visits any store. But she makes sure that they are all aligned in what they do. Okay, for me, that was awesome because now she's giving feedback to her employees as well. And whenever she's in the store, her employees treat her like a queen. And I think this relates also to Pick and Pay as well. The founder, whenever he went to all the stores, he would be treated like a king because he understood people. And most of the time when he was younger, he knew all his employees by name. Didn't matter whether you're a shelf packer, whether you are a truck driver, he knew you by name and would ask you, how's your family? Now, that I think motivates your employee to carry on working diligently for you. And that is positive feedback. What does it do? It improves the social being of the employee, but it improves your business as well. Thank you, Sondra.
Thank you, definitely for sure. It reminds me of a show in the US, Undercover Boss, where the CEOs will go undercover as an employee or being trained to see truly how the store is being run or the facility is being run when they think nobody's watching, which is true. I always get fascinated with those because, and then he will reward big time. They will usually big time reward the people that are doing going above and beyond. So definitely for sure on that. Yeah, and I think when you have a review of your SOPs and you're letting your team have input into that, it also helps them do better at their jobs because they feel heard, they feel like they matter. Yeah, you knowing their names, you knowing their birth dates or whatever it is, just makes it more personable, even if you're in a humongous business or a small business. So I was asking that some of my contractors are birthdays because I'm like, I want to send you a small gift on your birthday. You're my subcontractor, like you do good work. And they're, some of them were like, oh, okay, and some thought it was a little foolish. And I'm like, okay, well, it's my love language is gift giving, so I would like to do that. So please give me your birthday. So it definitely affects your team. And also having, like Hendrick said, staff reviews, staff feedback, definitely quarterly at the very least. I know a lot of people that do monthly in some agencies that they have a staff meeting, and the staff meeting starts with feedback from them, and also read customer feedback. I think that's always encouraged to tell your team, these are what the customers are saying. It's just not me being a big CEO telling you blah, blah, blah. These are customer one, customer two, customer three. Feedback can be very inspiring and also teaching because they can say, oh, okay, I had a bad day or blah, blah, blah. Maybe I need to check my bad day attitude at the door. I used to have a business that said, check your attitude before you walk into the building, deploying interest, because we all have our days. So definitely letting your team know the feedback is extremely important. No matter what size business you are, if it's you and one other person, you and 5,000 people, it's extremely important. Peter, come on in.
Yeah, I just want to break it down a little bit further. The way that we're having this conversation sounds like it's just general feedback, but we know that businesses don't just run on general feedback. There are so many different facets to a business, so many different spaces, from the web development side to your graphics side to your marketing side to your, and you cannot have one person that you get feedback on everything. You can't. One person cannot specialize in everything. One person wearing many hats is just one tired person. So I think the objective is, as a business owner or as an entrepreneur, is to develop the right relationships with the right people. I mean, I can rattle off at this very point in time, I can go, if I want to make a business decision and I need clarity, I'm going to Mr. Levy. And there'll be people in this space that'll be like, oh, yes. So they can see that. They can see it because they know Mr. Levy. If I want to take a look at processes in my space, I'm going to Sondra. I know nothing about processes. I'll go the long way around because it's a pretty view. You know, I'll be like, ooh, look at the long way around. And Sondra's like, you do know you only have to do this, right? It's not such a big deal. If I want to go web development, I can, depending on the type of problem I'm having, I can either go to Renee Bracer or I can go to Gareth. They're both in that space. They're both very different. If I'm talking graphics, I've got multiple people I can go to. I can go to Natasha. I can go to Somerville. If I want to step into the academic space and course building, then I'm going to Nastine. If it's project management and I need things to be abbreviated and shortened to make it run more smoothly, then I'm going back to Somerville. You know, so I think the name of the game is not. It's not about getting feedback from one or two people. It's about strategically picking your business apart, finding out what different areas are required to function your business, build relationships with people that function in those areas so that at the drop of a hat, you can pick up the phone and go, hey, I'm having a bit of a problem and I need some feedback. But at the same time, a relationship is a two-way street. So some of those people are going to come back to you and they're going to rely on you for your feedback. So just as much as you value the feedback from others and the assistance from others, you need to be that assistance too. And that's the only way it works. Otherwise, what happens is you ask somebody for advice, you ask them for more advice, you ask them for more advice. They ask you for advice, you don't bother to get back to them. They will just stop being that assistance, and they will just stop. So in my mind, it's about relationship building. And sometimes you don't know what area you need feedback in. Sometimes you've got to pick it apart first. You've got to go through that process. You've got to go, okay, hold on a second. Things are running like this. Can it run better? Can it run a bit more smoothly? Can I decrease this process to increase the profitability? Can I do these things? And then based on how you break it down, you would then understand, well, which people do I need to strategically speak to then get that advice that I actually need? And I'm speaking to people that I trust. They're in my circle. I've strategically chosen them. They've got no skin in the game in my business. Actually, sometimes it's the other way around. They might have skin in the game in a positive light. So if my business does well, then so does theirs. But you can't have it the other way around. You know, if my business does well, then theirs does terribly. Then you're not going to them for advice. But if my success creates other people's success, then you can go to them for advice because they will do their utmost best to give you the advice that is going to help you succeed. So build relationships with the right people. And then at the same time, just because somebody says it's so doesn't make it so. And this is where you've got to put your entrepreneurial, business-minded hat on. And when somebody's giving you feedback, you've got to figure out for yourself, what of that applies to me? Because I know my business best. So what can I take from what has been said? And maybe some of it, maybe not all of it, maybe all of it. But that's going to be up to your judgment. You can't just blindly go, well, that person knows what they're talking about, so I'm just going to do what they tell me. You've got to know why. Why are they telling me to do what they're telling me to do? What difference will it make? Will that work in my business? Do I only have to speak to one person to take their advice? No. If you're building relationships, you can take that advice and go to somebody else and go, what do you think? And they might be like, well, that's actually a really good idea, but I wouldn't do this part because that seems a bit overboard. So I think it's all about buttering your bread and buttering others' slices of bread at the same time. Build the relationships, but don't get stuck in a space where you have to figure out everything for yourself. I can't. From the web development side, from the graphic side, oh goodness me, our intro would be done with crayon. We wouldn't have a host for the show. We wouldn't have students in our space. We wouldn't have all the courses created. We wouldn't have our multiple spaces online. We wouldn't have a YouTube channel. If this was all down to me, these are skills I do not have, but I've built relationships with people that do. So relationships, rely on them. They will take you far.
I love that, Peter. When I coaching clients, I always ask what their resources are. What are their strengths and weaknesses? Like you said, what are you good at? What are you not good at? What are your resources? And people are like, I don't have any resources. I'm like, okay, I don't usually believe that's true. Usually there's some resources you sometimes have to think outside the box. But review those. Again, go back to that review and review your resources, review your communities. Maybe you've outgrown a community. Maybe a community has changed and it's not benefiting you, or maybe you've been giving everything in the community and getting nothing back in the community. Like Peter said, it's a two-way street. And building those relationships is very important, but also reviewing those relationships. Relationships change. People grow. People should grow. Relationships should change. And if you're staying with the same relationships just because you're loyal, guilty, I'm guilty of that, it's not going to benefit you. It's not going to help you grow. So you have to change that relationship, whether it's let it go completely or just change how you're doing it, so that you are growing to the best version of yourself is extremely important. So for sure. Hendrick, come on in. We'll take Hendrick and Mikey, and then we got to wrap up.
Okay, I hope I've got enough battery that will last me through. Okay, so I wanted to emphasize the importance of who to listen to and when to listen to. Along with that, and for how long. I just remembered now the two stories, the two car making stories. The one story was the Lamborghini and the Ferrari story, which I believe everyone knows about today, as to what happened for a Lamborghini to be where they are today. Someone was not happy with with his Ferrari, and then he went to Ferrari to tell them that, okay, I think if you did this and this and this, it would be a better car. And then they said, no, do yours. And then he did. And today we are here with Lamborghini. And then the other one is Lexus, the Toyota brand. When Toyota wanted to compete in the US market, especially the luxury vehicle segment, they actually sat down and said, okay, how can we attract the wealthy US people to buy our brand? What is our brand lacking that these people don't want to buy? And then there was research into that as to what do we need to include in our cars for people to have interest in a Toyota. Hence, the brand Lexus just means a luxurious export to the US. That's all it is. After they did their research, they knew what to add into their Toyota to be luxurious. And then today it's a success story. So you need to know when to listen to advices and when to actually give your team the responsibility.
Love that, Hendrick. Love that. For sure. Mikey, come on in.
Thanks. I also just wanted to echo one thing about Hendrick and his example with the car brands. And the vehicle market is extremely competitive, And the one thing, and it applies to any business, is unfortunately people tend to ask the questions of what went wrong after things have gone wrong, which is usually too late. After things in their business has started failing already, that's when people gear up and decide to ask questions or try to get feedback on what is wrong and what went wrong, and then try to react thereafter, which again, it usually is too late. And it's something that needs to be done proactively and continuously, and not neglected. Again, like these car brands, they continuously check, even though they got a winning product, and this applies again in all forms of business. Even though you have a winning product, you gotta still keep in touch with your market and your customers, and see there, because customers and the market also has changing needs and wants and demands over time, and the onus is on you to keep abreast of that, and hence engaging with them with foresight in mind is very key and important in that. Not to engage when it's too late, when they've moved on to another brand or another product, because you dropped the ball on that. I don't need to go through the whole there are many examples. BlackBerry is one that is a big one that comes to mind. A company that had the world in the palm of their hands, and just because they weren't keeping abreast with technology and the consumers and competition, they fell in a very short span of time, and there was no recovery, and they couldn't. And again, they tried to recover, they tried to develop products that did then meet the demand, but it was too late because the market had moved on to other brands. And so very important, be proactive about getting this feedback, not reactive. That's very key.
Thank you so much, Mikey. So wrapping up, definitely feedback, as we've all said, is extremely important. The who, the when, and the how are definitely as important as doing the feedback. And of course, what you do with the feedback is extremely important. It's been my pleasure to talk on this topic. I think it's an extremely important one. It's part of reviewing, and I'm very, very, very big on reviewing. So it's part of that review. So my name is Sondra. I'm the owner of Get It Done Coaching. I am your performance coach, helping you get more done. Mr. Peter, do you want to wrap us up and take us out? Oh, I forgot to, wait a minute. Let me thank Susan. Forgot my thank yous. Let me thank Susan, who does our covers, our show notes, and then turns us into Spotify. So please share our content on both platforms and like it. We also put our LinkedIn links in the show notes so you can schedule calls with us. We love to talk to people and learn more about what you get out of the show. I think that's extremely important. It's important to me so very much. And then of course Somerville, who does all the things that Peter doesn't want to. No, all the pieces of Explore ProTech. She has her hands in pretty much everything. So we're super grateful to you, Somerville. Go ahead, Peter.
Awesome. Before we bring this to a close, I just want to add one word to your list of who, when, and where, and why. And that word would be consistency. And if I'm not mistaken, I think that your quarterly review is a space that actually does create that consistency. A space that you can actually go in and then pick your space apart to figure it out. Is probably a really good space to start. Before you start asking people for advice on things, it's probably better to streamline it first and get it functioning the way it should. So what I'm actually going to ask you, Sondra, could you please perhaps put your link to your quarterly review or that space into this into the description or into the
I will later, since it's under construction. So
Awesome.
we gotta give it a little time for the dust to settle. But by the end of the week, we should have a new link. Yeah, the date is set. We're just reconstructing the landing page. So gotta give the tech a little bit. But yes, for sure. I will put it in the
Great stuff.
show notes.
Thank you. So other than that, it's we're bringing this space to a close. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been an absolute blast. We hope to see you at the same time, same place next week. And in the words of our infamous co-founder Nestine Botha. May all your wildest entrepreneurial dreams come true.
Bye, guys.